Yeah, the game week, excited about it. You know, just the whole situation's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really cool. You know, starting with, you know, obviously the venue is going to be good. You know, when Shane came to me a couple years ago, or a couple months ago, it was about 6 months ago, and asked if I wanted to do it, I wasn't real thrilled with the what's going to have to happen next week with a short week, getting ready to play East Carolina. But with that said, just the neutral site game, the Sunday night game, the national TV only game on, no NFL. You know, the ticket sales on it is really good, you know, for both fan bases, you know, not only for our fan base, but for Virginia Tech as well, is going to be a great atmosphere. You know, holiday weekend and in D.C. is going to be good. You know, playing at FedEx Field is going to be good. We're familiar with that, but so are they. They've been there a couple of times as well. Getting this thing, the rivalry, getting it started back up. We're all excited about that. I know you guys are. We are. The fan bases are, the players are. There's not going to be anything that is you know, more important than trying to keep everybody kind of grounded a little bit to play this game. Not going to have to give them a whole lot of pep talks. You know, not going to have to really go into the the ins and outs of you know, this being the 52nd game, and you know, got the Black Diamond Trophy that we're playing for. I mean, everybody understands all this stuff, and not only that, you couple it with just the first game. There's going to be a lot of excitement. So, looking forward to getting back into a routine this week. You know, things went good last week with the mock week, ironed out some things that we needed to. But this week's all about Virginia Tech. I sit in here today and start talking about Virginia Tech, and although we've watched it and we've game planned it and we've introduced it, this will really hammer it home this week. And you know, still got 5 or 6 days before we get an opportunity to play this. But keeping the players focused is going to be big. We're familiar with the going over to the East Coast and the hotel that we'll stay at and the stadium that we'll be at. So not going to have to really say much about that. You know, just get ready to play a football game is the biggest thing. I think probably the biggest key to this is maintaining a level head to be able to execute the game plans that we have on all three sides. As far as Virginia Tech goes, things that stand out to me, a lot of respect for Justin Fuente. I've watched him play growing up. Was a great quarterback and out of Tulsa Union. We've talked about that. But in addition to that, his 2 stops at TCU and Memphis to me were incredibly impressive. Did a great job of getting TCU's offense going. Andy Dalton's a pretty good football player, and he tutored him. And then went to Memphis and kind of turned that thing around when they were kind of in shambles. He took it over, and 3 or 4 years later, I mean, he's one of the hottest coaches in the country. So not surprising that he was the ACC Coach of the Year last year and got those guys to 10 wins, won a bowl game, had a chance. Shoot, they were, I mean, the last seconds, last couple minutes of the ACC game, they were a drive away from going down and beating Clemson. So, you know, it's impressive. You know, and does a lot great offensive mind. It does a lot of good things on offense, much like we did. You know, they lost some guys on offense, but everybody loses guys year in and year out. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what they do offensively with the new quarterback and all that. But that's just first game stuff. You can't think of Virginia Tech without thinking of Bud Foster as well. 30th year. You know, back when I was a young coach and hadn't done anything in this profession, we still followed Bud Foster as far as what he did. You know, their defense is good. They got everybody coming back. I know they've been rumored to this may be his best unit from what I understand. So you watch them, and they got all their guys coming back, and they were an incredibly good defense last year. So. Would be a challenge. You know, the one thing about it is we got a lot of video to watch. going back for 30 years. I mean, I don't know how. He's been pretty good for a long time. So we got lots of video to watch, and they got all their guys back. So it's going to be a challenge to go against those guys, but it's going to be an honor to be able to coach against them as well. Last thing, special teams wise, they're really good, really sound. Not only do they have good specialists, the unknown is the punter, obviously, but the kicker and the place kicker is as good as there is out there in football. Their returners are really good. Their coverage units are fast, and they get down the field, and they're sure tacklers. I don't think anybody's had a touchdown on them, let alone a big return on those guys on their punt coverage and their kickoff coverage in a couple of years, especially last year. So they're very sound, very, very, very good with what they do, and just an overall good team. You win 10 games and almost win the ACC championship. They're pretty good. So I'm expecting them to be even better. So that's pretty much my thoughts. Got any questions?
Do you like the idea of facing a fellow top 25 team right off the bat? And do you have the type of team this year that can kind of hit the ground running like that?
Well, I'm in favor of it. We've done it pretty regularly here for over the last few years. Opened up with Alabama and Atlanta. Last year opened up with Missouri, had a neutral site game versus BYU, which was a big game. Open up with Tennessee next year and Florida State a couple years from now. So yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I got thoughts on when we should start the season. I don't know if it's just the first game that matters or what your non-conference is in general. We're going to play big games. So having this one right out the gate is good. I think everybody gets excited about their first game. So whether it's a big neutral site first game or a home big game or just a FCS game, I think you're going to be ready to play that first one no matter what. But I got no problems with with a first game that's a neutral site game that's a quote unquote big game. That's fine with me.
How unique is what Fuentes does offensively, and how's it changed since his TCU days?
There's a lot of similarities. Andy Dalton was a really good pocket guy, but the thing I remember about it is his quarterback run game was probably ahead of the time when he had Andy, and there was this big, tall, redhead, lumbering quarterback that you look at him as a pocket guy that's just taking a zone read for about 60 yards on people. So he's always been good with the quarterback run game and quick game and run pass options, motions. He's done a lot of that stuff. Following him when he was at Memphis. My nephew played quarterback for him at Memphis, so I followed it pretty closely. And the quarterback they had, who's the big kid that got drafted high? Lynch. I mean, he was when he was earlier in his career. I mean, they would run him on quarterback power and quarterback counter 100 times, just over and over and over again, and developed him into a really, really, really good pocket quarterback, which is why he gets drafted in the first round by Elway. And so just watching him develop those guys, and he took the same guy last year, the junior college kid, big kid. And just got better and better and better and better and better throughout the course of the year, and came out early. So he's got a new young kid, two new young kids that the same thing. I mean, those guys, we recruited the Jackson kid. He's a good athlete. He's a coach's kid. He can throw the ball, but got another guy back there that can run it as well. So he's always been very, very multiple, and I've studied his stuff throughout the course of the last 10 years, and don't think he's going to get too far away from what got him there.
Speaking of Boston, you changed the defense a little bit last year to reflect the spread game. You go back to the Arkansas game and the bowl game. They kind of went back and did some things in that second half that he did before. Does that influence you at all? Looking at that.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the thing about him is he's been able to adjust. I mean, you take that game was what, 24-0 at halftime. and they come out and they just stifle them on defense and get the offense going. I mean, that's a sign of a good coach, obviously, but it's a sign of a good football team as well, good program. That's just what makes good coaches is, that in-game adjustments and all that stuff's one thing, but the game planning aspect of it is a whole nother thing. The mentality of it is a whole nother thing. The way they practice as a program, the way they, the physicalness that they play with is something that's good. I think we resemble that a little bit as well, with our program as well. I think, we're able to do the same type stuff, and defensively in particular, I think, we're able to be incredibly multiple when it comes to being able to defend the spread, but also being able to load up and be physical and stop the run. And, that Arkansas is pretty big and pretty physical, and they were able to shut that down, which was pretty impressive. Everybody knows we're going to try to run the ball. So, we're anticipating him doing what he needs to do to be able to stop it.
Danny, can you give us an update on Will Greer and how he's been progressing?
Good. He's ready to go. I mean, a lot of talk about him and a lot of talk about he finally gets to play football again, right? It's been a year and a half, almost 2 years, I guess, to where he hasn't played. So he likes to play. He likes to play the game. Likes to practice. Likes to prepare. Likes to get out there and compete. So I've never seen him in a live situation. I mean, I've seen him in plenty of practices and watched him on video, as far as the live stuff goes. So I'm anxious to finally see him in a live setting to where he can kind of cut it loose a little bit. He's our quarterback, so our job is to kind of protect him a little bit with how we call things, and his job is to be able to play within himself and run our offense the way we ask him to do it.
With him as your quarterback and having a new offensive coordinator, does that change how you're able, enhance how you're able to attack defenses this year?
Well, I can't tell you that. Yeah, I mean that's I think with the new coordinator thing, I mean that's we'll wait and see. Kind of use that as our advantage, so to speak. I think they're going to know what we're going to do on defense. I think we're going to know what they're going to do on defense. I think there's some question marks anytime you have a new quarterback, which we both fall in the same boat when it comes to that, and when you switch coordinators. But with that said, there's been plenty of times, myself as a coordinator, you go 8 months in the off season and you find some new ways of doing things where there's some new nuances as far as what you do here and what you do there that nobody knows going into game one. There's always a level of uncertainty going into to year one. Probably this year more than the last couple of years with us. I mean, there's probably a higher level of uncertainty.
Is there any similarities between Virginia Tech's quarterback run game and what you see out of K-State when you play them?
It's similar. It's similar. And you could look at us last year and say that it's kind of similar. If you pull the Big 12 coaches, I mean, probably who is more similar to Kansas State than anybody in the Big 12 was us last year, just because of what our quarterback strengths were and, having some big physical O-linemen and really focusing on the run game, quarterback run game as well. Anytime you run gap schemes and throw your quarterback up inside the tackles, I mean, it's going to resemble Kansas State. Put some tight ends and some fullbacks in there, and it's going to resemble Kansas State. Both us and Virginia Tech kind of both resemble that a little bit at times, more so than some of the other quote-unquote air raid offenses that are out there.
Feeling any better about some of the wide receivers behind your top three guys?
When was the last time we talked?
Last week.
Yeah, we've only practiced like twice since then.
You've been known for developing quarterbacks and having quarterbacks, and a lot of talk about that. But you've also had some really great wide receivers over the years. What goes into making wide receivers, and how does that apply, especially to Karan this year?
Yeah, developmental process more than anything. There are two things. One, well, three things. One is ability. Okay, there's a lot of players out there that have ability. Two is the developmental process of it. Do they stay the same or do they continue to get better? And then three is the relationship that exists with the quarterback when it comes to timing and getting on the same page. And there's so many different times you can use, Graham Harrell and Michael Crabtree as an example. You can use B.J. Simmons and Wes Welker, or Whedon and Blackman, Gino and Stedman, Kevin and Clint. Those guys just knew each other, and that aids in stats more than probably anything. Just the comfort level that exists between the quarterback and the receiver as far as the the amount of reps and timing that they have over the course of the years, the practice reps, the trust factor of that guy knowing he's going to be in that spot when he needs to be in that spot. That's hard to teach. I mean, you just kind of go through the process of practicing it and watching it over the course of a couple of years, and it's fun to get them to that spot. Does Clint or does Will have that with any of our receivers right now? I think so. Although we know there's not many of them. I think he's got it with a couple of them, and I'm anxious to see it. To see where it goes. I think we got three receivers that have an opportunity to be in that conversation. Some of that's going to depend on Will's mentality, on who he looks to and who he throws it to, and what happens when he does.
The year before Kevin broke out, he had a similar year to what Karan had last year.
Correct.
I guess.
Yep.
Do you see similarities coming into the season between the way he was and the way Karan is now?
The problem is Karan was hurt in the offseason, where Kevin and Clint had, and Clint was hurt that spring as well, but they had all summer, and we're not there yet. Because Will was here, I see it with with David and Gary a good bit, and I'm hopeful that it catches on with Karan as well. Not that it hasn't, just to the point to where you're talking about Karan like you talked about Kevin, which is kind of unfair. I don't know yet. I don't think we're going to know until we get into the season. Nobody knew about Kevin until that first game. So, what happens on game day, I'm kind of anxious to see it myself.
I know you got to take the depth chart with a grain of salt, but I noticed you put Reggie Roberson on there. Can you talk about what's caught your attention with him?
Just keeps improving, works hard, that's about it. He's young, he's, bright-eyed, he's eager, he's fast, likes to play. Yeah, that's it.
These teams haven't played each other in 12 years. Have you tried to kind of explain to your players that this is a rivalry to the fans and it means something to the fans?
I don't think I'm going to have to do that. I think that's a foregone conclusion that everybody knows.
Tech's obviously getting talent on defense, but how much of what they do effectively is execution, and how much of it is just skill level of the players?
Well, you rarely can be good with only one. I mean, if you want to be a top 20 defense, which they are, you got to have both. I mean, you got to have the coaching aspect of it, which they have. They have the recruiting aspect of it, and with good players, and they have developmental aspect going on with guys getting better throughout the course of their career. They got all that. I'd like to think we do as well at this point, where we've been doing it for 4 years. I mean, they've been doing it for 4 decades. So I'd like to think we're in that same conversation. But they're good on defense.
And are there things that coaches don't know opening game? We think maybe special teams, just because you can't replicate it the same way in practice. Are there things like that you don't know even?
Yeah, there's always unknowns. I mean, we got an idea, but you don't know what you don't know what is going to get exposed, honestly. So yeah, there's unknowns going into every game. Not just scheme, not just sides of the ball, specific players as well. I mean, guys that haven't played very much, are they ready to take that next step? Are they ready to take over a game? Are they ready to make a difference? New guys, are they going to be? Is the environment going to be too big? There's a lot of things you don't know. That's why you play.
Mr. Crawford, I know almost 1,200 yards last year, obviously a great year. Do you feel like he's capable of even more?
Yeah, I think so, because if you look at those, I mean, he did that in about half the games. He was out, 3-4 games. I think the off season was really good for him. He's never had one. So being able to, be in the off season for 6 months and get a little bit bigger, faster, stronger, better shape, I think it's going to be good for him. You may not see it in game 1 or game 2, but hopefully you see it in game 5 or game 6. Be able to be that guy the whole year. If he was the guy that played against Baylor, that's he does that for 13 games or so, then that's pretty good.
Get in the end zone a few more times.
That's been discussed. Trust me, that's been discussed. What good is getting 200-300 yards if you can't get in the end zone, right? So I'd like for him to bust a few of those and finish it off with some points. Didn't do it nearly as much as he needs to, but I think there's a conditioning aspect of that, a strength aspect of that, that I'm hopeful that the off season that he went through is going to be able to help him finish some of those runs. It's not just durability, but it's being able to finish the deal.
You know what a good team looks like, feels like. You look around your locker room or look around your practice and go, yeah, this does seem like a top 25 team to me. I think I might have one of the better teams in the country this year.
I think that's why you play 12, 13 games, probably more than anything. I mean, I like our team where we're at. I think there's a pretty high level of optimism right now. If there's no optimism going into game 1, then you're not in a very good place. And I think that there's a pretty high level of optimism here, and I know it exists down in Blacksburg as well. So it's a good start, but that's all it is a start. I mean, the top 20 stuff is good for the program, no question, it is. But it's all preseason stuff. So you got to line up and play, and you got to earn it.